Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hi, and welcome to Business Innovators Radio. I'm your host, Ken Sherman. Today we're talking with the CEO of Element Restoration, Jenny Busby. Jenny's been in the disaster restoration business since 2004, and she's directly responsible for analyzing the needs for asbestos and lead abatement, mold decontamination, and environmental projects. In this interview with Jenny, we talk specifically about her role in helping homeowners with a water damage claim and mold and mildew removal and concerns. So let's jump right into the interview. So Jenny, I know mold has been linked to several different illnesses, in particular lots of allergies and rashes. What has your experience been with people that have had to deal with mold?
Fortunately for us, Ken, we have not come across too many harmful effects from mold. In our experience, we've caught it or detected it in time, and it is something that we were able to remediate that we haven't had extensive health issues from. However, I've heard of cases that have been nightmares regarding black mold and cause severe respiratory infections, the skin hives, all of those different things that are associated with it, allergies, etc. We have not come across that.
When was it that you caught the bug to pursue this as your career path? It's kind of an interesting career, dealing with mold and mildew and all kinds of restoration. You kind of see people's houses at the worst of the worst. How did you first get into this?
My husband was working with a restoration company when he was in his senior year in college, and he really liked the detail of it. His career path and degree were in a complete different field, and he wanted to start a restoration company upon graduation, and so we did. I actually got involved a couple of years later and just found it very intriguing, and I love to help people overcome situations where homeowners are distraught because you're talking about their home environment, which is supposed to be a safe place to be. It really interrupts these homeowners' lives, and so I take great pride in putting their home and their life back together.
That's great. When someone has a flood, they're looking for help pretty quickly. It's happened to us even, where we had a flood and we really didn't know who to call. Are there some common obstacles or maybe misconceptions people have about hiring a restoration company to come in and help them out in the event of a flood?
The first misconception, Ken, is that you have to use whoever your homeowner's insurance or your insurance agent recommends. Fortunately, that is a good thing to be able to rely on the referral system. However, normally in a flood situation, it's an emergency and you want to get that water mitigated and extracted immediately. But if you aren't happy with the services that they provide, you do have the will to fire that company or, hire who you choose. If you know of someone that you want to call in, or if your neighbor has recommended someone, or, your brother-in-law, per se, owns a company, you are allowed to choose who you would like to service your claim.
Do you work with their insurance or all insurances?
It actually depends on the type of claim or the type of insurance that you carry and your carrier. Some companies require a pre-approval. Some will allow you to start but want to be given the heads up throughout the process so that they're aware of how the claim is going to go. Most claims are pretty similar. It does depend on certain factors like the location of the flood, the quantity of the water, how bad the damage is, what type of property or contents are located in the area that's being flooded, what services need to be provided. For a water mitigation claim, a general source would be a water heater. A water heater is usually located on the outside of the home or towards the outside edge of the home, strategically and purposely. Mine is actually located in the middle of my home. We actually suffered a flood last year, and it destroyed the entire downstairs of our property. We were out of our home for almost a year. So it just depends on the circumstances. It depends on what the location is, how much water. There are a lot of different factors. But yes, we can help the client file a claim, and we do work directly with the insurance company. I like to think of Element as the mitigator or the median between the homeowner and the insurance because we like to see both parties satisfied. We don't want to overcharge the insurance company, and we also like to make sure that the homeowner gets every amount that they're entitled to.
Tell us a story about somebody that you've helped in the last year or so with a flood that things had turned out really well, where if it might not have been you in place, may not have turned out so well for them. Has there been a story that you've helped a customer achieve an outcome that they were looking for?
Actually, there is one particular customer that comes to mind. This particular customer's name was Rita. She was on a cruise in the middle of the Caribbean. She was a school teacher, and her daughter was taking care of her property and feeding her cats while she was away. The daughter had come to the property to feed the cats, and what happened was she left the litter box inside the master bathroom upstairs. When the cat jumped into the bathtub to use the litter box, he accidentally hit the lever for the water to be turned on. So when the daughter came back the next day, there was Niagara Falls in the living room below. Because she could not get a hold of her mom, it was, she's in international waters, and it's very difficult to get a hold of someone on a cruise. She was able to represent her mom as her agent to get the process started, and luckily by the time, I'm not saying that she had a great cruise and it was a wonderful trip, because I'm sure she worried the whole time, but she did not have to rush immediately, halt the cruise ship in the middle of the ocean and take a helicopter in to service this claim. We assured her that everything would be documented, everything would be taken care of to her satisfaction, and that we would keep her daughter informed the entire process. And she showed up a week later, and yes, emotions were high, but we walked her through the process, and we actually helped her ease back into the reconstruction and putting her life back together. So that was a really good experience.
So when someone's looking to hire a molder or even water extraction company, what are some of the things that they should look for to make sure that they get the right person?
I would definitely look for companies that follow the IICRC standards. The IICRC is an organization that certifies and trains and keeps up with technology and all of the proper remediation techniques. I believe it's a global company, and the standards are set forth so that if you have Category 3 water, the standard is to cut 2 foot above the affected area so that you ensure that you get all of that bacteria or any kind of bloodborne pathogens or any kind of bacteria, so that it's deemed safe. There's, it kind of maps out the drying techniques guidelines and gives a general idea of how the process should work and what the appropriate techniques or the correct drying standards are. As you know, concrete never dries, so you'll always be able to detect moisture, but there is a threshold where that moisture level should be to ensure that you have the structure dried properly so that equipment can be turned off and things can get put back to normal.
So it sounds like you need to have some specialized equipment to really know that the property is dried out and that there isn't any mold and mildew, lingering or chances of mold and mildew growing. Is that right?
Correct. We actually use infrared technology, and it is a very reliable resource for detecting any kind of moisture. However, we also have thermal hygrometers and different moisture measuring techniques or equipment to ensure that those levels are brought down to where they're supposed to be. I do know that, for instance, if you would consider doing a mitigation project somewhere in the Pacific Northwest versus here in Arizona, the humidity and the temperature is a lot different than it is in other parts of the country. So obviously your technique and your method and the equipment that you use is vital to being able to properly dry out and service that flood.
Jenny, how can someone find out a little bit more about element restoration or mold and mildew mitigation?
You can find out more about element restoration on our website. That's www.elementaz.com. We do have different resources available online for people who are just looking to research or even in a hurry. They're kind of quick read what to do in an emergency, who to call, that type of thing, and we do offer all of our credentials online. For instance, if you're doing something like a bathroom remodel where there's some of that black mold possibly present and you're a little worried about it and you have time to research, you don't have to initiate an insurance claim immediately. You can do your due diligence a little bit first and then go ahead and file a claim, which we can help you do. Sometimes it's not worth filing a claim. It might be under the threshold to actually remediate it and put it back where you might not even meet your out-of-pocket or your deductible, so it might not be cost-effective or wise to file a claim. Other resources, online is a great resource.
Let's talk a little bit about something you just said. Somebody that maybe had a small flood, right? Maybe it's not a huge flood where the whole bottom floor of their home is destroyed. maybe it's a toilet they have found leaking and they see a little bit of mold growing in the wall behind their toilet. Is that something that they would call you in for?
Absolutely. We do free mold inspections. We will come out to your property and recommend whether we think you need to have an environmental or air quality testing company come in and measure the content. I've actually done that myself because I have 4 children that like to take steam showers, and moisture in the air causes, even on my windowsills, I get that like black, moldy, looking, where it's mildew, it's not mold. And if you're concerned at all, we are experts in the field. We will come out and give you a free estimate and guide you in the correct direction. One of my friends had called us for a small leak. Over time, it had leaked up underneath some of the wallpaper. It only ended up being about a $2,500 mitigation project. It was only like $500 over his threshold for his insurance, and so he just wanted to pay out of pocket instead of having the rates raised or anything like that. So each case is similar in some way, however, very different in other ways because it depends on all of those factors: time, quantity, personal belongings affected. If you have Niagara Falls in your living room, obviously your property, your personal effects are going to be damaged as well, which is a whole other type of insurance coverage. It doesn't affect the structure. It affects you personally, like your clothing or your TV or electronics or, books or, knickknacks, furniture, any of those things. My personal flood was quite extensive. It took us almost a year, and it was about $90,000.
So I would imagine in a lot of cases, you're protecting people's property and you're minimizing the damage that's going on, as things are soaking up water. You're trying to help keep things from getting worse. And, are you removing items of furniture and personal property and protecting those items, or how are you dealing with that?
Absolutely. Sometimes you can use a method called furniture blocking, where you simply elevate it off the floor by using these furniture blocks, but if the moisture or the water has gotten underneath the carpet and saturated into the pad where it has to be removed, we will actually provide content services, which is called a pack out or a pack back. We wrap and remove and inventory and list all of your personal belongings and provide copies of those so that the homeowner has peace of mind knowing the items that we took and where they're going. Sometimes we do an on-site, like a mobile mini or storage pod, or sometimes we bring them to our climate-controlled facility and store them for the duration of the project. If we do an on-site mobile mini or storage pod, we offer additional insurance so that if there is any kind of vandalism or, heaven forbid, some other tragedy occur to that storage unit, we are additionally insured to cover your belongings while they're outside of your property and out of your care.
Jenny, I want to thank you for being on the show today. And again, just let people know how they might be able to reach you if they've got some concerns about the possibility of mold, or obviously if they have a flood or something like that, they can reach you. But I would imagine people don't know that they have mold in a lot of cases until they see some external sign of it, on a wall or something like that. It would be important to have those things checked out. How would they be able to reach you again?
We are a local company. Our phone number is 480-699-5884. We have an after-hours answering service, so no call would go missed. We have after-hours technicians and everyone in place to be able to respond any time of the day, 24/7, 365. And you can contact us through our website or calling us directly. The website is www.elementaz.com. You can contact us by email as well at accounting@elementaz.com.
Great. Thanks, Jenny. Thanks for being on the show and taking time out of your business day today.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.